Everyone says New York City is the greatest city in the world, and in a lot of ways it is. But nobody told us what it would actually feel like to live here. So today we are sharing 20 things we wish we knew before moving to New York City. Number 1, we thought we would want a bigger apartment. We've learned that a small space works. So when we were originally looking for apartments back in 2022, I was dead set on us having a 1-bedroom. We applied to 6 different apartments, all of them being 1-bedrooms, besides for this studio that we're currently living in, and we have lived in for the past, what was that?
Over 3 years.
Didn't expect that moving here, that we would be in a studio for this long. When we originally moved into the city, I was like, oh, this studio will probably just work for like about a year or so. But honestly, it's been a great space for us and we've made it work even for 2 people living in 380 square feet.
I think we have found that our priority has become like the building being great and the space having no issues. Maybe even better than having like more space, but potentially more issues.
So just know that you're not gonna get a lot of space here in New York City, but if you're someone like me who thinks they need a 1-bedroom, I don't know, think again. You might not need as much space as you think.
And if you're like me and you're actually really fine with small spaces, then you are moving to the right city.
Number 2, we thought we would take the subway everywhere, but it's actually a ton of walking. Now, this definitely depends how far uptown or how far downtown you live. But because we're fairly central, I feel like most of the places we go, we're able to walk to, whether that's somewhere like above Central Park or even lower than Times Square. I feel like we find ourselves walking most of the time. I think our general rule for us is if it's under a 40-minute walk, we're like for sure gonna walk. I'm not stingy about a lot of things, but randomly, I'm like, if I can move my body and save $2.90 on a subway ride, I'll walk an hour. And lastly, sometimes it is just faster to walk, especially if you're going west to east, east to west, anywhere but like Midtown.
Number 3, we thought that the winter would be magical. It's actually pretty brutal. We actually posted a whole video about this, about us trying to survive the winter here in New York City, and I swear, every time winter comes around, we question our whole existence, question why we even live in this city. It's pretty bad. The days get really, really short. You don't see a lot of sunlight. It's obviously, you're walking around everywhere, and it's just so cold and kind of miserable. We can't emphasize enough how brutal the winter actually is. It does have a few moments, like December, it really is kind of magical. January, February, March, it's not great. But you can get through it. And then the rest of your time here is worth it. That's all I'll say about the winter.
Number 4, we thought the summers would be dreamy, but honestly, they're just kind of sweaty and smell weird. Now, I know it sounds like we're saying that year-round is pretty miserable in New York, but we're just saying that I think people just live for the spring and the fall. At least I know that we do. This summer is really just the time where everything on the concrete heats up, and that includes the trash and mystery juices from the air conditioning units and perhaps other places. So it kind of has like this rich aroma in the city. Also, because of the buildings, there's like not a ton of airflow, so the city can get really, really hot and humid feeling in the summer. However, I do think summers in the city are some of our favorite times. It feels like collectively as a city, everyone kind of relaxes a little bit, and that is really beautiful.
Number 5, we thought NYC would always feel exciting. It quickly started to feel pretty normal. I think everything about the city that makes it feel very different, the pace of life, the reason why people like want to move here, all those things, though they are very different than like every other major city in the US, do start to feel very, very normal once you live here longer than, I would say, like a year. Wouldn't you say? Like after you hit that year threshold, taking the subway, walking everywhere, pace of life, all those things just feel like another day in the city. And I think part of that is natural and good for a city like this to feel normal. You kind of need it to feel normal for you to be able to survive here. But then there's another aspect of that where, you know, you start to romanticize this place a little bit less. It just becomes another aspect of living, but I think that's perfectly normal.
Number 6, we thought we would miss driving, but actually we love not having a car. I'll speak for myself. I've also never been the person that like misses driving, but I love not having the responsibility for a car, for paying for insurance for the car, for paying for gas. And as we shared earlier, we walk so much. I think our transportation costs for both of us combined in a month is maybe $100. More like $75 a month, which if you're thinking about a car payment, insurance, gas, all that, it would just be exponentially more. So it is one area of our lives where we save a little bit of money.
Okay, let's go grab a little coffee.
Number 7, we thought we would see celebrities all the time. We mostly see rats. It's kind of true what they say. Rats run this city, I'll be honest. We've never personally found any rats in our apartment, but it's a big issue. We've had plenty of friends that have actually found rats in their apartment, and
Or mice.
Or mice, yeah, you're right. You see them all the time on the subway station. You see them at night crawling through the trash. It sounds gross the way that we're describing the city right now. Trust us, this is a beautiful place to live. But it is a real issue, and if you are deathly afraid of rats, this maybe isn't the city for you.
We'll get into the positives later. Number 8, we thought we would feel alone, but honestly, we've made incredible community. I think there's something about the transience of the city that makes you doubt that you'll find deep, rich friendships. Because people are in and out so much, it feels like people come for a season and they don't really go deep. But that is not what we have found, and that has been a pleasant surprise for us. So much of our community here have become what we call New York lifers. And we'll see if that ends up being us as well. But so many of our friends here are like planting their roots and their families deep here, which is really beautiful, and I feel like brings so much connection in our friendships with them. How are you? Good. Could I get an iced oat milk latte, please? Thank you. Thank you. It's really good. It's like chocolatey. I've actually become a pigeon whisperer in my free time. I breed them. I have a network, a large network in the black market for my pigeon breeding. Look me up.
Number 9, we thought that Central Park was touristy. Now it's a lifeline. No, it's not Central Park, but what I mean by that is parks are pretty essential here. I didn't really think that deeply about that when moving here, but my whole time I've lived in New York, I have been living on the Upper West Side, and Central Park or Riverside Park have been an option. So I would highly suggest, if you are moving to the city, think through where your nearest park is.
Number 10, we thought we would always love the pace of New York, but instead we built quiet rhythms. Personally, I think that trying to keep up with the pace of New York is just a recipe for burnout. I know myself, and I'm very predisposed to like overexertion and overcommitment and like trying to stretch my own capacity. I learned very, very quickly that like the pace of New York is not sustainable in the long term. So for us, within the first year of being here, we had to establish those things that were like quiet, peaceful rhythms for us, typically on our Saturdays, where we were able to get rejuvenated and fill back up for the week rather than just going 100% all the time. I highly recommend you doing this for yourself if you're going to move to the city so you can have some sustainable rhythms.
Number 11, we thought we would eat out constantly,
But cooking at home became essential. What should we make? I'm thinking eggs and toast. I think that this one is pretty self-explanatory, but eating out is very expensive. And I think I knew rent was going to be terribly expensive moving to New York City, but I didn't fully calculate the cost of eating out. It is so terribly expensive here. So eating in is almost always the move for us. We probably eat, I would say, 95% of our meals in. And on the occasion, we do get to eat out, which is also really fun, but very expensive.
Number 12, we thought New Yorkers would be rude. They're mostly just in a hurry. There's the age-old phrase, which is that New Yorkers are not nice, but they are kind. And I feel like that's very true. I feel like New Yorkers are more than willing to give you directions. They're gonna help you in a pinch, but at the same time, you're not gonna get any Southern hospitality or charm. However, if you ever need something from a New Yorker, they're always more than happy to help you. This hardened attitude is really what people just put up in order to survive.
Number 13, we thought it would be easy to make friends. It took more intentionality than expected. I think mostly what I mean by this is there is a feeling post-grad that life is just gonna be just as easy to make social connections with people, but I feel like once you are in the real world, you start to understand that relationships move a lot slower than they did in college. You're no longer surrounded by your community, catching up on a day-to-day basis with people. It really takes that extra step of intentionality to reach out to people, call people, set up hangouts, things like that. I feel like this is just kind of a normal adulting thing, not necessarily a New York specific thing. But the one caveat to this is I do feel like New York, out of any other city in the world, does feel like a big college campus at times, where you will randomly bump into people on the street. And that's honestly a really fun part of life here.
Number 14, we thought hustle culture was cool, but it actually became something we had to unlearn.
Why did we all think hustle culture was cool?
This city celebrates hustle culture. Like, the more you're doing, the better. The more on the verge of burnout, the better. And we have definitely lived in that place and honestly are always checking ourselves to make sure we're not continuously doing that.
Doing our best.
We work a lot. We work a lot because we have to make money, but then we both also have creative dreams outside of it that are not our sole income right now. And I think that's a lot of people in this city. The city is gonna naturally graft you into like the river flow of hustleness, so you have to actively resist it. Again, I think that goes back to the quiet rhythms that we talked about before, and not thinking, sorry, and not celebrating hustle culture. Down with hustle culture.
Down with hustle culture. Number 15, we thought that creativity would just flow here, but most of the time, you still have to fight for it. I think any creative person that has aspirations to move to New York City definitely has this romanticized view of the city being like a source of constant inspiration, and that inspiration will never dry up. But unfortunately, it definitely does dry up, at least in my opinion. Maybe not everyone's wired this way. And I think being a creative person in this city takes just as much like hustle and grind as being a creative person in probably any other city. It's definitely nice to be around more like-minded individuals, and that I feel like is probably the most inspiring thing of all, is just being like in a place where it's easy to find artistic community. But I wouldn't say city life itself necessarily like lends itself to more creative thinking, at least in my opinion. Number 16, we thought we would explore nonstop. We quickly formed routines. There is so much to offer in this city, and I honestly wish that we explored more, but real life happens and you just have things that need to get done, and honestly, you'll probably find yourself living in your neighborhood a lot more than you would expect yourself to be exploring around the city. I mean, the weekends are obviously great for that, and we try our best to go see new things, but I don't know, you find the restaurants that you really love and you find yourself wanting to go back to them, places in the park that you just really enjoy walking that are peaceful to you. I think even on the days that we like go exploring, oftentimes we're just like visiting the neighborhoods we know we love the most. So it's definitely still a goal for us to continue exploring New York, because again, there is so much to do here. Don't be too surprised if you find yourself settling into your neighborhood a little quicker than expected.
Number 17. We thought we would be here to chase our dreams, but really we are here to serve. I've always been a strong believer that no matter how long you're gonna be in a place, like it is your job and your responsibility to leave the place better than you found it. And I think that is something that Chandler and I talk about a lot. So whether that looks like volunteering in your community, serving your neighborhood, like contributing to the economic flourishing of small businesses where you live, things like that. Like it is a really beautiful thing to be able to serve the place that you're at. But I think something that New Yorkers don't do very often, and something that we are always striving to improve on, is serving strangers around us. All that to say, there's a million ways you can serve your city, but coming into the city, and rather than thinking about it as a place where you can like leech off of the city and get as much as you can, it's like, how can I serve the place I'm in, even if I'm only gonna be here 6 months, and leave it hopefully better than how I found it. That's easy for me to say. I know I'm just one person, but if we all had that collective mindset around whatever city we're in for whatever period of time, I think some really beautiful things could happen.
We thought that we would always feel inspired here, but there were some seasons that deeply discouraged us. I think particularly, I think it was in 2022, maybe it's 2023. I just had a really tough time in the city, and particularly around content creation and feeling like a creative person here. I just was having my own version of writer's block, and I was in a real rut. And I think because sometimes you have these expectations for yourself where, oh, I'm like in the perfect environment, I have like the perfect job, I have all these like ideals that I really wanted for such a long time, and now I'm living in it. And then you like reach that dry spell creatively, and then it can just feel all the more discouraging, because you would think that your environment would change the way that you're experiencing life. Maybe the lows were even lower in that time. It's kind of hard to say because I don't really know what it would have been like without having that experience. But I just wanted to throw this in there because life isn't always perfect when you reach a destination that you've been hoping for.
Number 19, we thought the city would fulfill us, but it's actually our calling that sustains us. There is this brand you may have heard of called New York or Nowhere. And I think for a lot of people, it really is that. It's like New York or nowhere else can compare. We do really love living in this city, but honestly, what keeps us grounded here is not just our love for the city, but feeling like the Lord really has called us here for this time. And if you're not a Christian and that doesn't make sense to you, that's totally fine. But for us, it feels like obedience, and it feels like we are called to be here for this period of time, however long that may be. And so I think that that is what sustains us. It genuinely does make the hard moments easier when you feel like you have a purpose-filled life living in the city that you're in. And I personally really believe that if God calls you to live somewhere for a period of time, there's going to be grace for the time that you are there. And I think both Chandler and I have experienced that.
Number 20. We thought that it would be temporary, and now we're not sure anymore. I think actually a lot of our friends have experienced this since moving to New York City.
I think you go in kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to be here for 1 year, 2 years max. But we literally left the city and moved straight back because we missed it so much.
Or we initially moved here, or at least I did, 7 years ago. So it's been a long time that this New York bug has not gone away. And I think at least we are like always kind of waiting for that moment where you're like gonna be ready to move to a different place. Not that we want that, but I think for us, we probably want like a clearer yes that we're gonna be here for a long time, or a clearer, all right, it's time to go. And I think we just feel like we're in the right place right now, and I don't know if that's gonna change. I think we could see ourselves here in 10 years, and we could also see ourselves so many other places in 10 years. And that's what's really, really odd to conceptualize.
I think you're probably likely to experience this too. Once you experience the charm, the warmth, the grit,
The mystery juice.
the mystery juice of this city, you're likely not going to want to leave. There's really nothing like it, at least in the United States. It's a wonderful place to live, and we've really enjoyed it for these past couple of years, and now it's hard to imagine us leaving. So right now, we're here indefinitely, and we'll see what the future holds. But thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. And we actually are likely going to be moving out of this apartment. That's why we wanted to film this video before we get into our next moving series. So if you are interested in New York City content, vlogs, moving, etc., then you'll definitely want to hop on the journey. But any other words, Lucy?
If you're watching this and you're about to move to New York and you're nervous and you're scared, I just want you to know that you can do this. And the best advice I got when I first moved to the city was you can't do more than 3 things in a day. And it was what carried me through my first year living here. So if that's laundry, grocery shopping, and you gotta go to your shift at the restaurant, that's all you can do in the day. Don't try to do more than 3 things, at least until you get your feet under you. I hope that gives you permission to take it day by day. You've got this.